Most of us love some good detective work, and I think many of us can agree that solving puzzles or riddles can be quite satisfying. However, the real world is filled with mysterious puzzles that have confused common folk and left detectives baffled for decades. Today, we'll be diving into a list of some of the most mysterious people to have ever lived. Some of these people you may have heard of before, but others, we don't even know their names. Let us know who's one of the most mysterious people you know of. Share your story in the comments below, and you may just make it into a future video. Count Saint-Germain. Saint-Germain was a man who lived his life to the fullest. He worked as a musician, artist, and scientist, but was considered a very mysterious man. Many people were so suspicious of him that there were even rumors that he was nothing more than a con man. He traveled all over the world and was referred to as a Polish man, a Spaniard, an Englishman, and ultimately just a common gentleman. However, nobody knew his exact origin or how he became so successful throughout his life. Although he married a wealthy woman, he did not settle down. Saint-Germain stole most of her valuable jewelry and fled to Constantinople. After he fled, everyone he knew lost contact with him, and he was never seen again. No one knows where he ended up in the end or what he did with the rest of his life. However, considering how much money he made from stealing jewelry, he likely never needed to work again. The person who visited Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe was a famous and talented writer who died more than a century ago. The American writer is known for short stories like The Black Cat or The Treacherous Heart. He also wrote poems like The Raven, Annabel Lee, Alone, and The Bells. Every year on Poe's birthday, on January 19th, a mysterious visitor comes by and places a bottle of wine and flowers in front of his grave. It's believed that the roses were meant to honor three people: Poe himself, his wife Virginia, and his mother-in-law Maria Clem. It's not known if it's a man or a woman, as he or she always covers their face when stopping by. The person was always dressed in a black hat and a black coat and paid tribute to the deceased writer for more than 60 years, leaving roses and wine each year between 1949 and 1999. We don't know what happened to this mysterious stranger or why they stopped visiting so suddenly, but most people believe the person likely passed away. Kaspar Hauser. As a child, Kaspar Hauser was kept away from the public and from the outdoors all day and night, every day of his life. He wasn't even allowed to socialize with anyone. It's believed that the boy was kidnapped and that he may have been related to the hereditary Prince of Baden. He was finally released from captivity in 1828, but he was only a shell of the person he was born to be. Hauser first saw the light of day on May 26, 1828 in Nuremberg as a 16-year-old. He appeared to be mentally handicapped and struggled to complete basic daily activities. We don't know if he had been born this way all those years ago, or if he had simply fallen victim to his abuse, and this was the result of being kept indoors for more than a decade. He stated that he was held in a room when it was dark and that he was only given bread and water. In 1923, the book Kaspar Hauser, His Life, Story, and the Evidence of His Princely Origins was published and told the story of the young boy's life and how he became a victim in his younger years. The Man in the Iron Mask. In 1703, King Louis XIV ordered a man to be locked up in the Bastille. The strange thing is that no one ever saw his face because it was covered with a mask the entire time. He himself did not allow anyone else to see him or get closer, except for the governor whom he wished to meet with. After his death, all of his belongings were burned, and still no one had ever seen his face. The author, Alexandre Dumas, used the story as inspiration for the plot of his novel, Le Vicomte de Bragelonne. In 1988, a film titled The Man in the Iron Mask was released, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, John Malkovich, and Gerard Depardieu. Still to this day, we don't know much at all about this mysterious man. His story remains as mysterious today as it did all those years ago, and people around the world are left wondering what truly became of this mysterious man. Fulcanelli. The French alchemist and esoteric author, known to the public as Fulcanelli, was considered an extremely mysterious character. It was rumored that he was part of a group that laid the foundations for nuclear weapons in Germany during World War II. The strangest story of all was that as he got older, he looked younger day by day. This is how he earned the nickname, the Alchemist. The highly accomplished writer has published works such as The Mystery of the Cathedrals and the Esoteric Interpretation of the Hermetic Symbols of the Great Work, and Dwellings of the Adepts, Hermetic Symbolism in the Concrete Reality of the Sacred Art of the Great Work. While his name and stories are very well known, we hardly know anything about this mysterious author or how he continued to look so young despite his advancing age. Shoshani. Shoshani, also known as Shoshani, was a well-known Jewish teacher who taught science, mathematics, and the Talmud. Still, nobody knew anything about its exact origin. He did not write any books or papers of any sort, but his students called him Master. The Romanian-American writer Elie Wiesel described his first meeting with Shoshani in 1947 in Legends of Our Times. He describes him as dirty, hairy, and ugly, among other insulting things. Despite his status with his students, he was repeatedly verbally abused and looked down upon by those around him. Still, the lessons he left behind in the minds of his students will live on forever. He's widely believed to be one of the most influential Jewish teachers in modern history. Gil Perez. In Mexico, back in 1593, a mysterious man named Gil Perez appeared. The man became known for his superpowers, among other things. The man appeared in Mexico one day dressed in military clothing. He claimed that he needed to get back home to the Philippines and that he had been stationed there with the Spanish army. However, he had no idea how he had suddenly ended up in Mexico or why he would have been there in the first place. He stood in a crowd of people, confused and disoriented, but his strange new life had only just begun. Before long, he was able to tell locals about future events that had not yet taken place. He told stories to Mexicans about the places he visited, and they reported that he could travel between countries instantaneously. He also prophesied the death of Philippine Governor Gómez Pérez Dasmariñas shortly before his death on October 25th. He told the story of the governor's death on October 24th, but the locals quickly reminded him that October 25th had not yet come. However, the following day, just as Gil Perez had prophesied, the governor lost his life. However, residents of Mexico would not find out about this right away. The story was incredibly confusing to local police, which is why the man was charged with desertion and witchcraft and was immediately arrested. It was not until 2 months later that a ship from Manila entered the Mexican port, and the news of the murder of Governor Dasmariñas has been confirmed, proving that the man had indeed foretold the future. One of the men on the ship reported that he had seen Gil Perez just a couple of days before. He could not explain how the man had ended up in Mexico in such a short amount of time. Consequently, Perez was released from prison. He returned to his homeland and worked there as a security guard for the rest of his life. The reason why this case is so mysterious is that one cannot explain how Perez could have known the details of the governor's murder days before it had actually happened. At the time, it would have taken about 2 months to travel from the Philippines to Mexico, so there's no way the man could have been seen in the Philippines on October 23rd, yet already have arrived in Mexico by the 24th. His story continues to haunt researchers to this day. The Babushka Lady. In 1963, John F. Kennedy was assassinated in the back of his car while traveling in a parade. New information about this case continues to come to light over the years, with new films being released about his assassination all the time. Nearby the location where Kennedy was assassinated, police noticed a woman who has become known as the Babushka lady. The lady was dressed with her hair uptight, wearing a babushka. She was holding a camera and seems to have captured the only known footage of JFK's assassination, footage that would later be released publicly by police. If this is true, she likely captured a second angle from the event that could prove once and for all who claimed the life of the president. For years, there have been questions and theories about who could be responsible, as most Americans do not accept the official theory that his death was carried out by Lee Harvey Oswald. Neither the Babushka lady nor her film has ever been found. To make the Babushka lady's story even stranger, when shots were fired at the president, most everyone who was nearby ducked and ran for cover. However, the Babushka lady remained calm and still. She stood there, silently filming the assassination as it took place. There have been rumors that she knew about the assassination before it happened, and that she may have been working alongside the Russian government, bringing back the film evidence of his assassination as proof of a job well done. Dan Cooper. Dan Cooper, also known as D.B. Cooper, was the type of man who used his professional education to his advantage. He hijacked a plane and requested a ransom of approximately $200,000. He parachuted off the plane on November 24, 1971. The police were unable to track him at the time, but used the cash they had given him to try to pinpoint his location after he landed. The FBI doesn't believe Cooper survived the fall, although this theory has never been confirmed. Investigators say he was not an experienced skydiver, as he made the jump above 5,000 feet in risky weather conditions. In addition to this, he did not have the right clothing for a safe landing. According to FBI records, Cooper was wearing slippers and a trench coat and jumped into a wooded area at night while it was raining with 200-mile-per-hour winds. To date, the case has not been fully resolved and is still considered one of the most puzzling criminal cases of all time. The Green Children of Woolpit. In the 12th century, two green-skinned children were seen in Woolpit, a village in the English county of Suffolk. After learning the English language, the children said they were from the land of St. Martin, where they did not see the sun for many years. When asked where this land was, the children couldn't say. However, they did say that they believed in Jesus Christ and that there are churches in their homeland. However, they did not know about baptism. According to a modern interpretation of the story, it's believed that the children may have been poisoned with arsenic at some point in their youth. Arsenic poisoning can cause severe skin discoloration, but we don't know how this would have led the children claiming they were from a village that didn't exist. The story behind the Green Children of Woolpit has never been solved. Amelia Earhart. More than 80 years after the disappearance of Amelia Earhart, historians and explorers are still trying to clear up the strange disappearance of the young American pilot. Earhart had broken social barriers and became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic when she and her navigator, Fred Noonan, took off on a flight around the world in 1937. The two had completed about two-thirds of their journey when things began to take a turn, and they had begun to run out of fuel. They disappeared somewhere over the Pacific on July 2, 1937. Rescuers searched for the couple for about 2 weeks, but Earhart and her companion were never found. In 1939, despite a lack of evidence, Earhart was officially declared dead by a court order. It has been rumored that she may have been captured by a foreign country and held prisoner, but we just don't know for sure. There have been several photos and pieces of evidence released over the years that aim to explain where she may have ended up, but her case has never been solved. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like button and ring the notification bell for more videos.